Hi everyone, you're with Lucy from Artshed Angel, and today I'm going to show you how to use a new Couture Creations alcohol inks to make this koi fish card. So let's get started. What I'm using today is an A4 piece of Yupo paper, and if you like my videos, please make sure you subscribe. I'm using the new Fluro Inks from Couture Creations, and everything will be in the description below. So what I'm using here is the Fluoro Blue, which is a really lovely watery color. And I'm using this is a hairdryer, not a heat gun. And I'm just blowing this ink around to create like a watery effect. You can see it's got beautiful little ripples and things like that on it. So it works really, really well. So just keep adding color. And the thing is here is layering, making sure that you layer your colors, and I'm just turning the project around all the time to make sure that it works easily. I'm blowing this ink around, and I'm trying to keep as much off the fish as I can, but knowing that they're going to be set in water, and they're swimming around in this beautiful water, we do want a little bit of the blue on the fish. So, you know, I'm going to wipe away some of it, but some of it I will leave because you do want that look. Now, if you really want the wispy effect, you must put your alcohol blending solution on. It's important to put kind of copious amounts of that blending solution just to make it really sort of bleed out, and I think it's kind of a nice effect when you get that going. Now I'm also using the felt applicator here just with a little bit of a greeny sort of, it still has a bit of green on it actually, and I've just adding a bit of texture to my page. And I kind of want the water to be like a pond where there's sort of all sorts of things in the pond that are interesting. And now I'm going to use my blending solution and just clean off some of the fish. You can just use that with a piece of paper towel, and like I said, I'm not going to clean it all off, but I do want to clean some of it off. And that's all I need to do there. Now I'm going to use my Cobalt, which is my Glitter Accents Cobalt, and I'm going to do a layer of that because that's got glitter in it, which will make the water really stand out. So I'm using some of that, and I'm going to add some blending solution too, and with a brush I'm kind of just making it blend in to the background so that the fish doesn't all just have that one color of water. It has like a depth to the water, and I think this is important, and the Cobalt certainly is great to do that. Now you have to work reasonably fast. I know my video is double speed, but to do this you do need to work reasonably fast so that your ink doesn't dry too much as you're doing it. And you can see here you're getting really nice background effects around the fish. The alcohol inks really do work well to do this sort of project, and I think that especially with water I've been very impressed. And the Cobalt gives that depth that, you know, just doing one color water you wouldn't get. So just continuing doing that. That's the other thing, just put down little bits of paint at a time. You really, when you're using alcohol inks, it's better to just put tiny bits down at a time. You don't really use a lot, but it is important that you don't try to put it all down at once. And now what I'm doing is just using the alcohol blending solution. You can't really see it very well in this video, but those little dots that I'm doing are creating like little water droplets. And now what I'm doing is just using the alcohol blending solution with my brush, and you can see these lovely little water dots which look like bubbles that are turning up in the background. So that's the background of the koi fish. So again, I dry it off with my hairdryer. The hairdryer is set on cool because what I don't want to do is buckle my paper. So now I'm going to use some graphite. And this one is the graphite in the glitter accents, and it is actually one of my favorite colors in the Couture Creations range. It's a gray that has metallic glitter in it. So this glitter looks fantastic, and what I'm doing is I'm putting this all around the edges of the fish and kind of blending it out just because it makes the scales on the fish look glittery and nice, and it also gives those shadow areas. So it's really nice to have an ink that's the color of shadow, you know, that you can use for shadow areas. So I'm really impressed by this particular ink. It's probably one of my favorite. I've got an owl painting that you might want to have a look at that is done with the grays and the onyx black as well, and it really is beautiful, because we always think that we need to only do very colorful things with alcohol inks, and you can do some really beautiful steampunky or lovely colors with it. So the one I'm using now is the burnt orange in the fluoros. So the burnt orange is a really nice orange. It's not too bright. And what I'm doing here is I'm just adding some of that burnt orange over the fishes. They are going to be like spotted koi. So each one I'm going to add in some color in different places. You can't actually go wrong. Just add color where you like. And I'm going to do one with a slight little bit more black on it, because apparently it's good luck to have a black on a koi fish. So I'm hoping that that's right. It's turning out nicely. So here what I want to do is get a bit of texture on this fish's head. So I'm just doing drops and letting them run into each other. So whenever you want to get texture with alcohol inks, just do drops like I'm doing there, and that's giving me almost like a scale texture. And I'm quite liking how the head on that fish is looking. So here we are still going on with the burnt orange, and you can see here in some parts I'm actually mixing the burnt orange with the bit of the blue and the other colors that I still got left on my palette. That's why these glass plates are so good to work with. So if you've got one of these glass media mats, you would love them. Now I am adding red, and it's fluoro red, and I'm adding this to add some punch to the color. So I love the orange, but in some places I want it to be just that bit brighter, and this gives you the variation too in the fish. So this one here, I'm watering it down even a little bit, or using blending solution, not water. Don't use water. And I'm just adding some detail, that lovely sweeping tail. And again, just letting the colours on my palette blend a bit, because I don't mind that kind of the little bit of dirty colour that you get from that. And here, this one where I've done the dots, I've continued and done dots on the actual fish. So it's, you know, when you're doing these things, just make it a bit of playing. These three fish are completely different. You don't need to make them look the same. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. And I've also, this one here, I've really used the mixed colours to darken areas, because the darker you make that fish look, the more that fish looks like it's under the water. And now this is Onyx Black. Now you've got to love the Onyx Black from Couture Creations. And what I'm doing here is I'm doing the eyes, and I'm doing some black spots on the fish. And these little black spots, you can't kind of see it in the video, but these black spots are all glittery as well. And it's lovely how when you work on a project like this and you do layer by layer, how the picture starts to really appear. So sometimes you really got to use some patience when you're doing this kind of stuff. And, you know, just know that each layer is on, it's it gives the depth to the picture, but each layer that you do is, you know, making the whole thing look more creative. And you can see here the onyx really starts to bring the fish to life. I do like koi fish that are all spotty and coloured like this, so it looks great and gives that tail that sort of sweeping look. And the brush that I'm using is just a very cheap sort of detail brush, and it doesn't ruin your brush so long as you don't soak it in alcohol ink. So never soak your brushes so that the glue part is in your alcohol ink. I just wash the tips out and then let them dry, and then you can wash them in a bit of soapy water to get the alcohol ink off them. So don't forget to put those little I suppose whiskers that the koi fish have on them. And you can see the bigger one there. I've actually done quite a lot of black on it as well. I didn't want to speed this video up too much because I wanted you to see the detail and how much fun it is to actually create that detail. So now we just dry it off again. And like I said, always make sure that it's a cold setting on your hairdryer. And this time I'm going to mix some blue, and I'm going to use the colours that are still on my palette, get some blending solution. I'm mixing it all together because what I'm doing here is creating a shadow under the fish. And make sure you do this only to one side of the fish. What I'm doing here is I want the fish to appear that it's in a pond and it's leaving a shadow on the floor of the pond. And you can see that it really brings it to life. The fish stand out even more. They look like they're actually swimming. And I'm just using, this is just a mixture of all the colours that I had left. So what's left on my palette with a little bit of grey and black and a little bit of blue has created this shadow, making sure that you always do it to one side. So then again, let that dry, and then I'm going to do some detail with a Posca pen as I drink my tea. Oh no, I'm going to do some swirls. Sorry, before I did that, I'm doing some water swirls. So just that fish looks like it's creating a bit of a swirl in the water. So just take your, this is Cobalt, and I'm just adding some just ripples in the water with my brush. Now the next thing I'm going to do is add some just lily pads in the background just to give some of another color. I really think it needed another color. So I'm going to use the green, the beautiful Verdant in the glitter accents, and I'm doing some just lily pad shapes, and I'm keeping them to the outside, just covering the edge of the page. And I really like the effect that this gives. I think the lily pads kind of frame it a little bit as well. So, you know, it does sometimes pay to do these things. And I'm using some of that shadow color that I've got left on my palette to give some outlines and just a bit of detail on these lily pads. So now I'm going to add just a little bit more blue because the ripples, this is the fluoro blue, because I wasn't happy with exactly how the ripples were. So I thought, add some of the fluoro blue as well. And you can see how a picture develops if you take the time. Here I'm using a Posca pen, and I am doing some outlines to these fish, but they're very rough outlines, so don't get a pen and draw exactly around each fish. These outlines are just sweeping, and they're not around every section of the fish. I'm just using the outlines just to highlight bits of it a bit more. And you can see now with that slight outline that the shadows underneath the fish are even standing out more, and it really makes the fish look like they're swimming in a pond, leaving some lovely highlights behind. So I always like to finish my artwork with touch-ups with the Posca pen. So here I'm going to use my white Signo Broad, and I'm putting some highlights in the fish's eyes and just a little bit of white highlights in their fins and things like that, and some water droplets. So you can play now for quite some time to finish the page. And I'm actually also going to mount this on another colour because I think it needs like a bit of a border. So here I'm using some angelic white and dropping some drops of that just to, I don't know, I really wanted the water to have some depth to it. And also above the fish, that it looked like there was water above them as well as below them. And you're just doing this to finish off the project. So if you like this, it's really quite a fun project to do, and I'd love to see you, or let me know what you think of the project. It is lots of fun. Here I've actually done a border on it. I've cut it down slightly, and I'm looking at it thinking it needs some more drops of white, and I'm just adding some more angelic white. Now this angelic white is one of the glitter accents ones, and it has a little bit of a glitter in the white, which is really nice. So always look at your artwork before you finish and have a look whether you think you need to add some extra stuff. So again, you're with Lucy, and if you like my work, please make sure that you subscribe to my page. I will be doing lots of things in watercolors, alcohol inks, mixed media, and there's so many different things that I'd love to show you. So please share my page and make sure you subscribe. Thanks everyone, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.